Sloss and Humphries on the road.
Muggins and cream and muggins, straight thuggin', living the dream.
And that's our intro.
Fucking muggles.
Tickling the clit inside your head to me.
Hello. What day is this?
It's actually a Saturday.
No, but what day does this go out?
Monday.
Hello, Monday podcast listeners. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. Welcome to the very special episode of the podcast where the American tour is done. We are finished.
We can see how we really feel now. They'll hear it once we're gone.
No, it is. We've just come off stage in Houston. We've done our second last show. We've got one more in New Orleans. And what I will say about this, and I know some people won't be satisfied with this answer because it's not as controversial is that I feel I went deaf during that. I can't hear myself speak anymore.
That's right, you're good. Do you want a bit
No. I believe you.
Nice.
Thank you. I feel like I.
Really... Are you drunk?
Yeah. I drank a fair bit before.
Yeah, it's just because I've been with you for the last hour, but since the gig finished, it's been about an hour.
Aye.
But we've had company backstage, and we've been entertaining. We've just been hanging out.
Aye.
But now that we're back here, you've sobered me up.
No, I am. Because I drank a fair bit of. I don't think that helped for anyone watching. I don't think that did help.
I can hear that it helped.
Well, I mean,
is this how we're starting the podcast?
Yes. No, we can go through. No, man, they get what it is. Man, we had a live argument on one of the most recent, they get it.
Oh, no, I deleted that.
Also, we did.
I deleted it. We recorded a bit longer. But we did have an argument. Oh, right, I'm just going to level with you guys. We deleted that argument because it was boring. It went round in circles. It was just not entertainment.
No.
And I know, imagine, you know how much we've let slide and let through and we haven't deleted. And you've went, I can't believe I fucking wasted an hour listening to that. It was worse than that.
100.
You nodded and headbutted the mic.
100%. I couldn't have phrased it better myself. Because it's the one thing I find about this tour is you and I always proudly exclaim, and I do feel I proudly exclaim this, is I say to people, they're like, what's it like going on tour with Kai for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months? And I go...
Constant exposure.
It's the easiest thing in the world. It's the easiest thing in the world because we are very aware of each other.
Boundaries.
And
if we push them, it's playfully.
Yeah. But also, neither. Don't get me wrong.
If we playfully push them, I get in and ask the taxi driver how his day is going, because I know it's going to wind you up in the end.
No, that's not okay. Don't ever speak to people that I pay money to. Annoys me.
Last time
they are not paid to speak to me.
Last time I did that, I wanted to talk to him. It was in... Oh, where was it? It was actually in San Antonio. Me, you and Cara went for a bite to eat. Neil went to do the setup for the gig. And when we got the taxi back, I decided I wanted to chat to the taxi driver. You know why?
And don't get me wrong, before I even pretend
to be angry at this, it wasn't Uber.
It
was Lyft. He had litter in his car. He looked like he'd slept in it.
But he was a really good dude.
He was a good dude.
He was a really good dude.
He was saying, sorry, he's moving crisp packets off the seat for you to sit doing and all that.
He was a really nice bloke.
And he was apologetic about it. And I was like... This dude's trying to make ends meet while barely holding his life together, and he's trying to just give people lifts for money to try and fucking pay.
And if that resonates with you, congratulations, you are 75% of the USA right now.
But Danny, I knew you and Carol in the back, right? We're coming back from a barbecue. That's where we've been. Lovely barbecue. Fucking Texas barbecues, man. I know I've talked about this before, but let us salivate into the mic. And we're going back from the barbecue, and he's getting the back. And I'm like, just pretend they're not there and chat to the taxi driver. It wasn't to wind you up.
It was to wind me up, and I don't believe you for a fucking second. Guy, if you were to be randomly dragged into a car, let's say you're out having a pub drink with some of your friends, and you go outside for a quick tab that you're not going to tell Natalie about, and somebody somebody bundles
Who are
you.
you painting me as?
Somebody bundles you in to the back of a moving van, and I forgot my point. What were we talking about?
No, you're on your own here. I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't know where you were going. You're on about, you got into the back of the taxi with Cara, we just had a barbecue. I started chatting to the taxi driver about movies. Right?
Yes,
And then you were trying to use that as a simile of me hoodwinking you, bundling into the back of a van, and then talking to you.
I don't understand why you or anyone else thinks that just because you take me somewhere gives you an inherent right to my personality, my mind, and my life. Like, for the same reason, man, if I were to ever get on a plane and before the plane took off, just imagine you've tucked in, you've got your seatbelts in, you've plugged your phone into the bits it needs to, and then before you take off to go to your family destination for your Christmas, the pilot comes over and goes, just before we take off, why are you guys going home? Like, what's the, like, why are you go,
where's your accent from?
What's going on? Why are you guys here? Why are you in this? You would go, shut the fuck up and fly the plane. You would not accept, if the pilot, when you got onto a plane, was to leave the fucking room and come back and go, hey, where you from? You go, check the passport, cunt. Fuck off. Go back to where the plane is fucking driven and drive the fucking plane. We're not here to be friends. What are you talking about? I'm glad we're sharing the same experience called humanity that we're all doing. But don't you dare for a fucking millisecond, just because we experience the same emotions when we wake up and go to sleep, doesn't entitle you to go, hey, how's your day? None of your business.
Nah.
None of your business.
I think there's a fine line between bombarding them with conversation and you building a brick wall. And I get it. It's like you're self-perpetuating each other. You're building a brick wall to stop the conversation because you're sick of the incessant conversation because you get taxis more than the average bear, right? But there should be like this like mutual agreement that will not be inhumane. We will get in and go, how you doing, mate? You good? Yeah. Whatever, like
there should be a bare minimum button,
nice car,
right? And the bare minimum is you go and you go, hey, you having a good day? And the guy goes, yeah. And he goes, you having a good day? And you go, yeah. And you go, great.
You know what else is?
And that's it. That's it. I don't give like man. If you drive taxis above Uber drivers, straight up, I respect taxi drivers more than Uber drivers because back in the fucking day, taxi drivers, you've got to learn a city. You've got to legitimately, do you want to be a taxi driver in Newcastle? You have to know every fucking road.
The one-way streets.
The one-way streets.
Yeah, where you can pull over.
Where you can park, where there's bus systems, where it's a cul-de-sac, all these now. Where, if you drop someone off there, is that going to be marketable-wise somewhere you can get? I understand that. Like, I fucking respect that side of taxi drivers. None of that knowledge requires you ever once mentioning your daughter to me.
Hairdressers. Do you like it when they talk to you?
No. And the greatest hairdresser in Edinburgh, without a doubt, and I'll say this straight up, his name is, the name of his hairdresser is Creed. Creed Hairdressers in Edinburgh. He is the greatest hairdresser.
He'll move your head.
Yep.
To get where he needs to be. You're just a piece of putty for him.
I've been
and you're going to sit down. He's going to manipulate. He's going to do your hair. He's going to steal your business. He's going to take your money. He's going to send you on your way. Bish, bash, bosh.
Kai, I've been into that barber's 7 times.
Do you want to move that up? Is that what you're doing?
Well, no. I was going to do it for impact, but it doesn't really make a difference. But thank you for helping. I've gotten haircuts from that man for 7 years, and I don't know his first name.
Apollo.
You'd assume.
Yeah. So I had a hairdresser when I was in London, and I started because I was gone like I'm like a 5-6 weeks a haircut kind of guy, and every time I went, it would just be like fucking all of.
Did you go into the same one?
It was a Tony and Guy in Stratford.
Okay.
I was paying out of the odds for a haircut, but I had somebody who I knew just got it right every time. Because I sometimes get butchered off barbers like.
Oh, Guy, I've been your friend for 10 years, and I think it's very kind of you to blame the barbers.
Well, maybe look. And now when I get into my barber, I'm asking for a miracle. And some of them can't perform miracles. Not all of them are magic, right? But every now and again, I've lived in different places, and every now and again, I'll find a hairdresser that will not royally fuck it up.
Aye.
Right?
And that's special.
And you stick to that person like glue when you find them. Right?
Aye.
It just so happened that this particular one was a Tony Guy that was going to charge us 50 quid a haircut. Right? And I got back every 6 weeks. But for me, it got to the point where it wasn't just the haircut I was getting. I wanted to know what she'd been up to. She was chatting to me about my day. Like, we're both going through the same stuff. Like, we're both getting engaged. We both had a marriage coming up and all that. And, like, we're both similar ages.
You were engaged?
I got engaged to my wife.
Oh, sorry. In my head, this was a part of your life when you were like with Kylie. I didn't realize it. I thought this was like from a sad part of your life. I didn't realize it was recent. Like, I thought this was meant to be like you telling a story of an example before your life, before Natalie, before she gave you taste, before I taught you to.
Oh, you think before Natalie I went to Tony and Guy?
Now that you mention it, I am a fucking idiot.
I went to a guy called Tony.
Okay, no, you're right. I'm an idiot. That's my fault for assuming progression. You know, it's like, don't be wrong. Let's talk about this. Disagree. Dallas is without a doubt one of the top 3 places to gig in America.
Aye, is that a gear change or was that on topic?
Who gives a shit?
Oh, right, because I've still got something to add to the conversations with taxi drivers and hairdressers.
Oh, then do that.
Right, so Dallas, yes, instantly top 3 in America. Right?
We'll get back to this.
The reason I don't like, and this is unique to me and you and other people in our industry, right? The reason I don't like speaking to the new barber, the taxi driver, and the guy at the checkout at the hotel is that eventually the conversation is going to ask why you're in town and what you're doing here, and you've either got to lie or furnish them with the truth that you're a comedian. And that conversation sucks every fucking time. I was actually rude to someone at the hotel desk the other day for it.
Oh, really?
He asked why I went down, and I was like, oh, doing gigs. And he was like, oh, you're musicians? I was like, nah, comics. It was a long fucking travel day as well.
Right.
And he was like, oh, I like dark humour. Do you like dark humour? I was like, we'll pedal a little bit in that. Like, we'll touch boundaries. And he was like, oh, go on then, make us laugh with a dark joke.
Kill yourself
traveling, man,
in front of your fucking children. What I want you to do is I want you to take the bluntest knife you have in your kitchen, and I want you to run it from your left ear to your right ear, and I want you to die in front of me.
But like, not a question.
Basic, so basic that you're not even fucking human. You are merely a tool of a person. Slit your own throat in front of me if you ever ask me that question.
And I'm there. I'm like, I'm approaching 40 now, man. And this guy asked us to fucking tell him a joke. And the guy was maybe like 23, 24 years old. And he was like quite bohemian and that. Like, he had his nails painted, he had his lip pierced and that. And he asked us to tell him a joke. And I just fucking slumped across. It took all of me. The question took every last bit of energy I had left in my bones. I've been traveling for fucking 6 weeks, man. Right?
I know.
And I slumped across his desk and I went, oh, I'm not a jukebox.
It's why it's truly the only reason why I'm jealous is Joe Rogan, because it must be so refreshing for Joe Rogan to turn up at any venue and for no one to go, tell us a joke.
He's got them.
No,
He's never.
man.
had one.
I will straight up, and I promise this. I will give £500, dollars, yen, euros, whatever the fucking currency.
Pesos, lira, francs.
If you can find me anyone ever in the history of the world that has ever walked up to Joe Rogan and with a straight face gone, make us laugh then. Man, his audience are paying $100 for that for several years. And they laugh, but they're not people.
Do you reckon your beef with Joe Rogan will ever reach him?
Yeah, man, I'm terrified because don't get me
Because he could whip both our horses. I couldn't stick up for you in that fight.
No.
I reckon he's a hard cunt.
Yeah, man, he's a hard cunt. He's also definitely infinitely more successful than I am. He's really influential.
That's the problem. It's we're going over old ground here, so we'll just in and out, right?
No.
He's influential and he's using his influence wrong. That's why.
But but it's not black and white shit. Like, man, I do like some of Joe Rogan's stand-up. Some of it's good. Man, he's not the worst stand-up in the world. Man, he's good. He's decent at stand-up. And the thing is, he's also decent at interviewing. But
we've got a lot of mutual friends. Sorry, I cut you off. I was going to say we've got a lot of mutual friends with him. Like, we hang out with Bert Kreischer and Ari Shafir, and they seem to love Joe. Do you ever talk to them about how you feel?
No.
Nah.
No.
Do you never just but off the record though?
Again, if I were to meet Joe, I've got no doubt I would get on with him because, man, the guy's a fucking comic through and through. Regardless of any of the opinions I have on him personally, and it's not even personal opinions I have on him. My opinions on Joe, much like most left-wing people are, I'm just basing my opinion off a bunch of headlines I've fucking read. Don't get me wrong, I listen to the podcast. I'm not that fucking... I do listen to what he does, and I personally, just me, I think he is not a good interviewer. I think he's a good podcaster. I think he's objectively a terrible interviewer. I think he takes no responsibility with, and that's fine because it's not his responsibility. But even though I don't enjoy some of his jokes, his audience does, and the fact that I don't enjoy it doesn't mean he's not funny. He is funny. He wouldn't have the fucking career, but he's not. No real comedian in the world, apart from Dave Chappelle, when seriously asked who's the top 10 comedian, the only person that's ever put Joe Rogan in their top 10 is Dave Chappelle. And that's what's most concerning for all other comedians. We're like, wait, hold on, the goat loves a retard?
You know what? I had I cringe about what you pointing at? You want to juice? I cringe about this, but I had a Joe Rogan quote in my Twitter bio for quite a while.
Man, Joe Rogan.
Can I tell you what the quote was? I put it on in 2012 when I was single, right? And I heard it on. He said it on a podcast, and I put it on as if it was my mantra, and it was, aspire to be the man you pretend to be when you're trying to get laid.
Aye. Do you know his new quote is, aspire to be the man who lies about children getting shot in a school so that their parents can't visit the graves of their children.
Without getting harassed by incels.
Yeah, because neutrality in journalism is apparently important. You thick, bald, 5'4" cunt. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Any human being that for a second allows Alex Jones to have a second on any of their media as if it's a bastard.
Carry on. Carry on. You done? Yeah, can I hear?
Nope. That's the bit over.
You're ruining that bit, by the way.
No. You're ruining the bit. You don't watch Curb Your Enthusiasm. You don't get the bit. So therefore, I will never engage with it. It's like the way to be anti-sexist and anti-racist. If somebody says something that's genuinely racist or sexist or bigoted in any other forms, you just stare at them and then go explain the joke. and then they stop doing the joke because through explaining it, they understand why it's not funny.
That can happen even with good jokes if you make them explain it.
I don't think that's true.
What was that quote about? A joke's like a frog. If you dissect it, you learn more about it, but essentially it dies.
Yeah, which is, if you dissect it, it's like a frog. You can dissect it, work out how it works, but none of it's funny.
Yeah.
I
think the punchline is that.
Yeah.
But if you do that, it dies.
But I disagree with that concept. I don't think
you think a joke can be funnier if you look into it, if it works, if it stands up.
Stewart Lee, and even though man, I like Stewart Lee a lot, right? I think I don't think he's the best.
I think he's got a lot to answer for. None of it's his fault. Only because I started in 2008. A lot of people that started at the same time as me, which was coincided with Stewart Lee's comedy vehicle. So he become like a much more public figure than he was. At the same time I started stand-up, which means every single fucking open micer tried to emulate it and try to avoid punchlines like the fucking plague because they thought that's what he was doing. But what he was doing was building tension, it was tantric. It was tantric, and when the punchline came, it was like fucking multiple orgasms because he took it so long to get there and then it worked. But people didn't realise that was a craft. They just thought that they could just talk dead slowly and then put another couple of syllables in next, and then the next thing they said would come later, and the punchline would never come.
Aye.
And I had to be on so many fucking open mics with them cunts. It actually probably helped my career.
I watched a very, very interesting. There's some YouTube channel that sort of deconstructs comedy, and as somebody who is a big fan of the science of comedy, speaking to in fact, watching the stuff. His thing was, Stewart Lee does this very fascinating thing, which is the audience is the problem, which is this game, which is how do you make stand-up funny when the audience are the villain? And that's the entire game that Stewart Lee plays. And I started watching some of the things. I watched his content career. It's very funny. Just it was a level of art because we broach on like being annoyed at your audience, but we do it, I feel, in more genuine ways. Like I get annoyed at my audience if they over laugh at a joke, or if they whoop, or if they cheer, or if they go over offended. That's when I'll get involved. Whereas what Stewart Lee does so masterfully is on so many nights he's able to create this tension of people naturally not enjoying his material, even if they all are. He's able to find the pockets in the crowds and manufacture this stage in that moment in such a way that it feels like he's always going against the grain. And that's the genius of it, because he goes on stage and he goes, nobody gets what I do. And for the full 2 hours of this special, where again, Stewart Lee's content provider is on free on YouTube. I think I only watched it the other day for the first time. Man, I think it's borderline immaculate. Like in the aspect of,
I've not seen it yet, but
just in the aspect of what it is to be a comic, right? And what the comic persona is. If you look at Stewart Lee's comic persona, which is I'm smarter than the audience, I'm better than the audience, and when the audience don't laugh at any one of my jokes, it's not because I'm a bad comedian, it's because they're stupid. And because they're stupid, I'm going to over-explain everything. Because I'm such a violent narcissist and this is the character he plays.
So can you see how when students on that gap year on daddy's money try and pursue comedy and replicate that, it's the worst thing in the fucking world?
Yes, I can. yes.
But when he gets it right, it's fucking amazing.
Because Stewart Lee's been doing it for 25 to 30 fucking years. And look, like, there are... and
hey, I remember when gong shows were like a kind of rite of passage in the comedy industry, where like if you want to play the Frog and Bucket, if you want to play the Comedy Store, if you want to play some of the Funhouse gigs, you go up and do a gong show, right? It's fucking demoralising. If you don't know what a gong show is, you sign up like an open mic, you go on, but you might get gonged off if the audience don't like you. You've got 5 minutes. If you complete the 5 minutes, you're
There
through.
are three. There are like three sections of the audience, and the host will decide. Right, this person in this section gets a sign. This
Like
person
a card that you hold up.
This person in that section gets that. This person in that section get that. And if 2 cards go up, you're still in. But if all 3 sections of the audience go up, you're done. That's you gonged. That's the career over. And unfortunately, for many comedians in the UK, that's one of the ways that you have to fight to get on stage.
One, it's guaranteed stage time. You
get to
don't get denied the gig. You always get the gig, right? So if you're a new comedian, do the fucking gong show because you're going to get accepted for stage time, right?
I still, hold on, this is a brag I've not been able to put anyone else. I still, to this day, hold the world record for longest gong show spot at the Comedy Store.
Where? In
Manchester Comedy Store.
Manchester?
Because obviously, everyone, the second you finish 5 minutes, even if you're mid punchline, when you get to 5 minutes, they ring the gong and you beat the gong. That's the gig over.
But the host wanted you to finish your bit.
Not even the host. When I was, Roger Monkhouse was the host.
The voice of God would have been Simon the Tech.
I'm at Manchester Comedy Store, and this is way back in the day. I'm 17 years old. I get all the way through.
Simon with a super deep voice that looks unbefitting to who he is.
Yep.
It's like a kind of skinny marathon runner looking guy with the deepest voice you've ever heard.
Yep. So I end up doing 4 minutes and 45 of all my material, and it's going all fucking great, and that's gone wrong. And then I start doing the shaving joke, and you obviously remember the shaving joke was a full legitimate routine. It was 90 seconds to a minute.
It was a 4-part routine where,
but it was a routine. It was a legit start to finish. It was this is the way it's performed every night. I get 15 seconds into that, and I beat 5 minutes, but they don't ring the gong. And me on stage, because I'm immaculate with my fucking timing, I know I've gone over. But the fact that they don't run the gong, I'm like, oh, I'm doing bad. Like, I thought this was 5 minutes, but the fact that the gong's not gone means I've not done 5 minutes. I must
have time dilation.
Yeah,
I could feel like the time's going so slow for me that I've done 3 minutes and I think I've done 5.
And because I think I'm doing well, like, and all the adrenaline's getting, so I slow down and I start slowing down the punchlines. And again, the gong doesn't come and the gong doesn't come.
And people are laughing?
Man, I'm ripping.
The cards aren't up?
None of the cards are up. I'm fucking ripping. And it gets to the point where I finally get to the final punchline of the joke. And I'll remember this for as long as I live. Roger Monkhouse, the MC, who I still think is a sweetheart, and I love him, man, who went, I get to the punchline, final punchline, the gong rings, huge round of applause, and Muggins just goes, that wasn't, there's no way that was 5 minutes. Is there a problem up in the tech booth? And Simon came over and just went, and again, man, I am 17 years old. This is my first time doing the Comedy Store ever in my fucking life.
Which is a huge gig for a new comic. It's a huge gig now. Like, I still love doing it now. Like,
Simon comes over the fucking voice and just goes, he cleared the 5 minute mark before his last joke, but I did just want to see how it ended.
Nice. So he ended up having a 7-minute gong.
Man, to be granted the right to finish a joke at a gong show.
Did you win the chair off?
Yeah, yes.
You won the clap off.
Yeah. That's how I got my first ever spot at the store.
Yeah, that's the rite of passage. That's the way to do it. I've won the Comedy Store one as well, but then I've done the Frog and Bucket one, and I got booed off because
Dan Nightingale was doing his last gig there.
I texted Dan Nightingale. You know, I've talked about this on Have a Word. So, you know, I had this routine about my brother having a tied tongue.
Aye.
And he cannot stick his tongue out.
Oh yes.
He can only roll his tongue forward. Right? And I did this thing, like, where just, you know, like sibling rivalry, like brotherly, right? I did this thing about how he can't eat pussy and I'm the Tiger Woods eating pussy, right? I was like bigging up how good
the Tiger Woods of eating pussy eats lot of pussy behind his pregnant wife's back.
Tiger Woods is the Tiger Woods eating pussy.
Aye, Jesus, he licked a lot of fucking stanky gash.
So the whole angle was meant to be like me joke. Did I write a joke?
No, I was just saying respectfully with eye contact at the camera. It wasn't.
So the whole bit was about me because my brother can't lick a girl out. He has to trough her out like a horse now. Trying to use his lips instead of his tongue. Right, so the whole bit's that, and I'm like, not me though. I'm the tiger woods eating pussy, and it's meant to be like it was a swing and a miss. You know, I knew it was meant to be knowingly, but it just looked like I was really bragging about how good I was at eating pussy. Right, and two of them were fucking cards up, right, and one of them got it. One of them got what I was trying to do. He was picking up what I was doing and was enjoying it, but the rest of the fucking audience was shouting out. And also, once I got past that bit, I started doing a bit about, because the guy just wouldn't put the card up. I started doing a bit about being at McDonald's at the drive-thru, and there's a guy with like a Jeremy Beadle arm. And he had, like, this is a genuine story. He had like
just for our non-British listeners, could you explain a Jeremy Beadle? So
hold on. It's derogatory to say gimp arm, but that probably makes you know what I mean.
But to give context, so
the Lucky Handoff scary movie.
If you America's Home Videos, you know, your own version of like America's like, hey,
You've Been Framed.
You've Been Framed is what it was in the UK. Jeremy Beadle was our host of our version of America's.
And he had a little arm.
Darndest things or whatever.
And he had
a little arm. And hey, he had a little arm during the 70s. So fucking respect. Respect to the BBC for the only time I've ever had respect for a dying company that deserves to die. That is filled with talentless cunts desperately trying to milk actually talented people to make up the hollowness in their own fucking talent.
Milk them with these lucky down.
Look, the BBC's an interesting concept, but every time it dies, I'm happy. Anyway,
so
he was part of the BBC, and he had the little arm.
Is it thalidomide? Is that the word? Is that the term for the disability?
I'm not. You know what? To be honest with you, even if it was, I wasn't even sure it was mean. It's like when people ask me. I know Josie had cerebral palsy, but if you were to ask me what cerebral palsy was, I don't think I could medically explain to you. Yeah. I can explain to you the experience I had with my sister for 6-7 years.
You taught me how clubfoot happens today.
Cara taught us, yeah, aye.
Yeah, it's like the foot gets stuck in the ribs and grows around the ribs.
Well, because
so it's like your foot's stuck in the...
Here's the very interesting thing, and this is one of the most... Don't get me wrong, I am... and I know this is on a money podcast and I shouldn't be talking about my fiance's pregnancy, but here we are. I love Cara being pregnant. I think it's the most exciting thing in the world. It's terrifying. It's scary. I'm out of my fucking depth. But what I've realised is because Josie died when I was 8, it meant that when Matthew and Jack were born, they were born when I was 10 and 12. So not only have I always been around children, I know pregnancy.
You've been around a pregnant woman for your formative years.
Yeah, so my mum, the second she was pregnant, I remember vividly the day I came home from primary school at lunchtime for lunch.
For milk.
And my mum put the pregnancy test across the table and she went, "What do you think that is?"
You got COVID. In the 90s?
Yeah.
In the 90s?
You Asian bitch, you Chinese traitor.
Who eats a bat?
You Wuhan.
Who eats a
bat? She handed it over to me and I was excited by it, and I'm still excited by it now. But from this experience of pregnancy is fascinating. If you've never been around a pregnant person, it's so interesting. There's so many things that you don't know. Here's, just from the top of my head, you might not know this, but the baby gets all of the calcium to grow its bones from the mother's calcium. That's why dental care in Scotland is free for a pregnant woman. If you're growing a...
If you haven't taken enough calcium in your diet, then the baby is just going to take the calcium from your stores.
Yes.
And that stores happen to just be your teeth and your bones.
So in Scotland, they have an understanding of this. So when you're pregnant, you get 3 years of free healthcare, because even if your diet is bad and you're not getting enough... Thank you. Dental care. It's the... Even though that's progressive and that's amazing, and I'm very happy that Cara gets a year's maternity leave, she gets free healthcare, she gets free dental care, I think it's all amazing. I think getting the person you love most in the world, your soulmate, pregnant, is objectively worst thing that you can do to them?
It's
That
not
would be
you wouldn't do that to your mate.
No, hey,
you wouldn't do that to me.
Kai, you're my best friend. You're my best friend. I wouldn't have the career I had without you. I wouldn't have the confidence I have without you.
But you're gonna do that thing to us, aren't you? Where you make your baby grow in my womb.
Yeah, but just so that I can
be your dad.
Yeah,
but I've got to. Hold on, all my organs have got to push up into my ribs.
Yeah.
So that your baby can grow in my gut, and then it's gonna burst.
No, hey, our baby is equal, even though you're doing 95% of it.
Aye.
Like, it's our baby.
And then, once I've incubated it and it's ready to come out, how does it come out? Give us a couple of options.
Okay, I you know what? I can give you a couple of options. The best option is we choose when the baby is going to come, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut you from your nipple to your sternum, and not in any sort of direct thing, but we're going to...
You think, that's my sternum there.
I was exaggerating for comedic effect.
Yeah, hold on, but just for comedic effect.
Yeah.
That's my sternum.
Yeah.
That's my nipple. Is that where I'm having my C-section?
But Ban, you're correct to point, because obviously that was that's just kidneys falling.
That's like me heart. And you know, I gave you my heart last Christmas.
No, I agree with you. But it's this point where it's not that.
Right, so you're like, baby, I love you. Hold on. Let's take it back. Best friend who I travel with. We'll play FIFA together. I'm gonna cut you. Your stomach you're proud of. You keep
baby. No, tell you what. Yeah, I know you love your abs, but what we're gonna do is, because I know you want to keep your abs, I want you to be healthy. You've grown this baby that I gave you. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make. Don't worry about this every second.
Can I push through my genitals?
Oh. Worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is that you push it out through your urethra. What we can do occasionally with planning is we can make a little tear here, and it'll be a very precise thing. And then what we'll do is just put 2 fingers in that hole, rip it open, and drag the baby out. That is legit what a cesarean is.
I've read Adam Kay's book, and I'm still traumatized because he tells a story about it going disastrously wrong, and I'm fucking still to this day traumatized by that book. I advise Natalie to not read it.
No.
I was like, I want you to read this book because it's like very funny and it's very informative, and it's like,
and it's Adam Kay, and it's called what's the name of the book?
Read it once you've got your tubes tied. Oh, that's a good question. This is a real shame that I can't remember, because he's got 2 books.
Everything's going to be all right, but it's something along those.
This is a bastard. This is another people are screaming at the podcast moment.
No.
It's a damn shame. Give it
the same for them. We're allowed to arrive at things.
Give it a quick Google while I backtrack on a couple of things. I don't know
where my phone is. Oh.
It's just there, right? I'm going to backtrack on a couple of things, right? At the Gong Show, and I was talking about the guy at McDonald's that handed me my meal and handed me my change with his funny little arm, and I'm like, he could have used his other arm. He didn't need to do that, and that was my bit. And people started seriously booing, and I got gonged off. So that was me getting gonged off story. And what I was telling that story for is because on the Stewart Lee, you got it? Wait there. I'm just going to wrap this up. On the Stewart Lee surge of 2008, where every comedian wanted to be Stewart Lee, a lot of open spots were going, well, Gong Show isn't indicative of how good you are as a comedian. Like, Stewart Lee wouldn't be very good at a Gong Show because he takes a while to get to the punchline.
And you go...
And I'm like, but Stewart Lee's a good comic. And if that was his situation, he'd fucking adapt to it. Because he's a good comic. And he knows stagecraft, and he knows how to play the course you're on. That's not what he'd like to do with his career, which is why he doesn't put his
that noise was. That was me nodding in agreement so much that I headbutted the microphone.
Also, second time it's happened tonight.
But man, I couldn't agree with you more. Succinctly put, there is pretentiousness in comedy, and don't get me wrong, I am consistently part of the pretentiousness. Sometimes you just get overwhelmed in things. For years, I thought I disliked Stewart Lee just because of his fans, for the same reason that you think you don't like Tim Minchin. Tim Minchin is objectively one of the greatest.
I like Tim Minchin, that's not me.
But his fans are awful because they're like,
you know what?
You don't know. No, he's actually really clever because what he does is he rhymes his stuff with, and you're just left with those.
I like him.
When comedy speaks to you on a personal level, and I say this as someone who comedy speaks to on a personal level, you become a little wanker. And I don't say this from a hierarchical place of being like, you all act like this around me. I say this as someone that, man...
Fans can ruin a comic.
So much.
Man, I went to see Kitson, who I'd heard was the best comedian that ever lived, and he just doesn't do mainstream stuff, so you'll not see him on TV and all that, right? And I went to see him at the Stand and at the Fringe Festival, like I'm going to guess 2013. Right, and I'm in the audience, and he's fucking class, right? And he's got Alan Cochrane up with him, who I know is class as part of the sketch, right? And he's got fucking Andy Zaltzman up with him, who I know is class, right? Three of them are fucking more intelligent than I could dream to be. Better joke writers, they're fucking excellent, right? And the fans spoilt it by
over laughing,
and they might as well have been pointing at their own chest while they were laughing, like, I get it. Do you get that? I get that.
They laugh at it like...
I'm smart because I get that.
They laugh at it like fucking sport fans.
Oh,
like,
man.
I
was sat there like, can I just enjoy this at my own pace? Do I have to enjoy this at your ridiculous pace? Like, you're laughing before he's finished the bit.
Well, it's because he's just such a meta genius guy. Like, the second you take art outside of art, it puts you above it, but it doesn't.
And like it was
increase your finances.
It was just,
I
just found it a bit of a shame. I was like, I'd love to see this guy on a neutral like just on a level playing field where.
But I did find, like, I think I'd always I hadn't turned my nose up to it, but like, because for so much of my career I was so obsessed with being like the best in the world, I would always look at other people that were described as the best in the world, and of course Stewart Lee comes into that. And I think I had this like little bit of just choice ignorance where I refused to see his genius and I only wished to see his flaws. But now, we were with Chris Williamson the other day, and he put me onto this YouTube channel, which was this guy who deconstructs comedy. And this guy very smartly deconstructed.
So he's a reviewer?
No. Reviewers are scum, and every reviewer deserves.
So what's he doing that's different?
It's just his own YouTube channel.
So it's spoken word instead of written.
But it's not a review. It's just him going, this is this. Reviewers don't.
So this is more of like a scientific review.
Yeah, right. Right. So reviewers don't. It's just their opinion, right? No reviewers are deeply educated in their thing. We know that. Like they think they are.
I ever stood at the back of the room with Barry Castanola when, like, even if it's your friends on stage, if there's a slight flaw in a joke, he'll lean across as if he was like really pernickety, and be like, well, that wouldn't happen, would it?
Yes. And that's Barry's funniest bit, because it's deconstructing live comedy that's going well is the most pointless thing in the world, and that's why it's funny. To deconstruct and not enjoy comedy that's literally taking place is very funny, because that is you purposely missing the point of stand-up comedy, and that is what every reviewer is. And never forget, and I want this on record, there is not a single reviewer on this planet who I do not earn more money than or could not beat in a fight. Objectively true. In the world, in the whole wide world, there is not a single comedy reviewer who I do not earn, I'm going to say at least 9 times as much as, and I'm a better person than, I'm a funny, and
you brag less.
No, because they've got nothing to brag about. I write comedy reviews for the Time. Oh, get that fucking cock in my mouth. No, it's never. No.
I just one of Barry's. We're doing Punch Drunk, and it was Barry was on, Dave Johns was on, and one of Dave Johns' lines. It's a funny line. He was like, I sell a tape of Viagra to the headboard like a salt lick. It's in the middle of a longer bit, but that's the line. He's like, I sell it, and Barry's just like, but I mean, if you sell tape to the headboard, you just be licking the salt tape.
But if you stick it down, doesn't really.
But that's just like one example. But what's funny is how relentless the you'll be sat there and there'll be like a couple of different comics on in the night and you'll just lean out and go, well, that. And it's not like degrading the comic that's on, because if he was on, there'd be bits in his that you could do that too.
We've all got those bits in our set where we just go, yeah, this bit isn't fucking. It's not necessarily not real, but it's exaggerated. It's heightened, it's whatever, and you could point out the realism in it. But then,
and you're like, to make that real, I've got to say about 10 more words. To get there.
And also, one thing I found in America, and while we wrap up this podcast, because this is our last one of the American tour, the way we're doing this is we're doing this podcast now, and then immediately after this, we're going to do the Patreon special directly in this room with Cara.
Because we're going to be travelling when the next podcast is due to be recorded. So instead of it being late, we're going to record it now. We're getting Cara in. We've got a seat set up there. We've got a mic set up there. And we are going to ask her questions about her pregnancy. Yeah.
So there was... I can't remember why I brought it up. I feel like I had a legit podcast reason for bringing it up. Sorry. So this podcast now, I know we've been bitching and moaning, and I know obviously I'm quite whiskey drunk, and I respect all of you for still listening to this.
We've got one day of the tour left. I'm going to go home to my wife and dog.
Yep.
I've loved this tour so much, but I'm getting so fucking sentimental now about being away from me tiny little family.
Yep. I'm the same, man. And I can't imagine how difficult it is for you and Neil, because you've both been so good during this tour. I've had the advantage of my pregnant fiance has joined me for the last 2 weeks, and
you're both missing your cat.
I know, but man, missing your cat's way easier than missing your birds. You both miss, and Ray's looked after because Colin's at home, and he has to, because of Carrie, has to send 3-hour updates every single day.
The hard bit for me is your cat's gonna look exactly the same as when you left her. What's hard for you is that clock's ticking. Let's be real. It's an old cat, right?
She shouldn't have lasted this year.
But that's true. It's sad. My dog's changed so much, and I've missed it. You might have spells like that with your child.
No. And hopefully I don't think I will ever have spells like that with my kid. If I do, it'll be at most a month, just because of the way I plan.
Imagine coming back and seeing your kid a couple inches taller and they're a different person to the last time you hugged them.
But that's
going to be emotional.
But that's exactly why.
That's like what I'm going through now times a million.
Yes, but I've already, and Marlena knows this, and Marlena is as much as I'm aware that we will bring her up in this podcast and we'll bitch and moan about her because
she's
a fucking psycho with weird ideas, but she's the best in the world at her job. Man, Marlena's number one concern at this moment in time is me having the most time with my kid. I really don't see that.
So she's not going to do a number on you and
no,
put you on the other side of the planet for months on end. She's going to be right, how can I keep these together? Either you travel with a child and your wife, or we'll make sure you come back at regular intervals.
Yes, So it'll
things are going to change because we have hit it hard for the last many years. For the last 10.5 years.
Man, my favourite thing the other day, and I know this is coming from a pregnant woman, so it's less real, but when Cara came out, she was even after 4 days of just being on the road with us, she was like, this is hard. Mm. This is really difficult. This is tiring. This isn't traveling. This isn't seeing the world. This is really tiring and awful. And both of you and me, for the first time, we weren't we were like, really? Are we allowed to be a little bit sad about some of this experience. And Cara was like, you enjoy the gigs? We're like, we love the gigs. The gigs are the best. But the other 22 hours of the day are a little bit difficult and miserable. And
Neil preempted it, you know, you called it. He was like, oh, when Cara gets here and she travels with you, she'll see you for what you do. He was like, you'll be seen. Like he was, she'll understand what. Like she'll get a little sample of what you're doing on. Like
I was expecting
months and months in a row.
I was expecting her to rightfully and correctly be like, "You think this job is hard? You just go from fucking city to city every day, blah blah blah. You tell the same jokes. While being famous is not that difficult." 3 days, and she is pregnant, so obviously her
experience is tougher than ours right now.
Infinitely.
Except for she doesn't have to deal with hangovers.
No, she doesn't. No.
That's it's right. Don't get me wrong.
And she also doesn't have to deal with random men wanting to fuck her since she's so fat and ransom.
Like we have to put up with.
It didn't mean any of that.
And only because I'm not random.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean any of the. I was just being purposely antagonistic to get a reaction from the kinder version of my audience because
it's very funny.
Because antagonizing the pure makes me feel better than them because I'm a weak person.
Yeah. So I think we've done really well this tour. We haven't burned out even though we've been non-stop. Because Cara was pointing out that she was like, on Instagram, it makes you jealous when you're watching it. You're like, oh, I'm in New York, now I'm in fucking Boston, now I'm in Detroit or whatever. Like, and she's like, look at that guy. That looks so fucking cool. And nobody looks at that and goes, oh, but yeah, it takes 4 hours to get there. You've got to check in. There's a queue at the hotel. There's like
also, man, we're only posting the good shit. It's social
media.
Of
get
course,
over it. I'm not
only posting the shit that makes us look cool. Do you understand how absolutely undervalued I am in the UK?
All
my fucking social media is me proving to the UK circuit that I am more famous than most of them, and I deserve the respect that I won't be given. And that's why my social media exists. It's it.
Just for the comics. I'm not trying to sell tickets.
It's just me desperately going, hey, I know you're on Mock the Week, but objectively I'm better than you. Objectively I'm more famous. That's all this tour is.
You saw I got the Apollo this week.
Oh, I did you? Aye.
Oh, when does the American tour start off the back of it?
Oh, fucking great. How was the Apollo? Did you go on after Paul Chowdhury or before Lee Nelson? How did it go in the lowest bar of comedy that has ever existed on television within the past fucking decade?
Oh, we're getting too comfortable on this podcast.
Nah.
We've got to create our one.
Lee Nelson and Paul Chowdhury can come at me. I'm objectively better than you both. Infinitely better than you both. There's no denial that I'm better by a substantial mile than you both. And if you take this as a peer insulting a peer? Sorry, I think I was trying to get caught on like a peer career.
The only thing with Lee Nelson that I've got qualms with is that he made a career and pretended to be what I am.
Aye. Yeah. And he's not. He was just, man, Lee Nelson. No. Lee Nelson did a modernly acceptable version of blackface. That's all it was. Man.
He culturally appropriated
and also, please, that's not comparing to blackface. The history of blackface is infinitely more evil, infinitely more bad, and steeped in much more racism. Comparison.
You can have hyperbole in your similes without being calded on it.
No, but I do want people to understand.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not saying no, but also I wouldn't want Lee Nelson to see me being like, you did blackface. He didn't do blackface. You parodied poor cunts for the rich.
I feel bad because I got a paid gig off him. You know, he'll not remember it. But one of his agents, one of his producers, got in touch saying he's doing this new
off the card.
No, it was pretty much open mic, yeah.
Open mic and off the card.
It was.
If you ever want to know whether the television show you've just watched is an actual meritocracy on comedy, if it's by open mic or off the curb, no. If it's by any other company except for Avalon, it's normally booked through like we'll just book who's the best. If it's open mic, off the curb, or Avalon, it is exclusively their own clients who they want on television.
That Al said, they don't owe us anything. So I'm just like, whatever. Like, that's not an avenue for me. I kind of can't.
It's not. No. But it's not about owing. You do not get to fucking, as an agency, create a television show on the only comedy stand-up show on mainstream television. You do not get to create the only stand-up show on mainstream television and then decide who's in that. That is objectively wrong.
Yeah,
and it's only in Britain that it fucking happens. It doesn't happen in America. It doesn't happen in Canada. It doesn't happen in fucking France. It doesn't happen in Australia. It doesn't happen in any other country other than the fucking UK, where what they will do, they will have one or two stand-up shows that are booked by one fucking agency who will get their own people on it. And if you're one of these dumbass men at home who thinks they hate women comedian, the reason you hate female comedians is because of Avalon and Off the Curb. Because what happens is brilliant female comedians will get very good and very talented, and then they'll be signed by the bigger agencies, and they will be forced onto television to fill a market that these agencies feel that is there.
Too fast, too soon, and you're watching an open spot in amongst a bunch of
very talented open spot.
Very talented open spot that just needs a little bit of time to develop.
And what will happen is, because they're so desperate for this diversity, and they're so desperate to own that diversity and be in charge of that diversity, that they will put that diversity on every single bit of television to the point where they run out of material and they become worse. And this is why you find dumb fucking men who are like, women aren't funny because I saw Holly Walsh die. And you go, right, you can easily watch 10 men die on stage and you don't think men aren't funny. You see one bad woman, but the reason that exists is because there are only two stand-up shows on television. Live at the Apollo. There's only one stand-up show on television.
Yeah, I was going to say.
One stand-up show on television, and it's Live at the Apollo. So when Holly Walsh or whatever fucking female comedian they decide needs to be, or not even just female, disabled, and again, I represent young. The reason I got
you were the young guy.
The reason I got McIntyre's Roadshow wasn't because I was funnier than the older comics.
You were pushed on as an open spot.
Yes, I was put on McIntyre's Roadshow because I was young, I was Scottish, and I was arguably attractive. I was a fucking box ticker. These companies, they force the public this idea of what stand-up is. And this is why you'll meet people in the UK, the only country in the world, when you go, hey, do you like stand-up? They're like, I don't like comedy. And you go, everyone likes comedy.
That's like saying I don't like music.
Yeah. Like,
that's like saying I don't like films.
You've just not found the comedy that you'd like. There is comedy out there for you. And don't worry, if this isn't it, I get that.
Yeah, that's why, like, you know, if somebody's like, I don't like comedy because all they've seen's like Peter Kay, Michael McIntyre, and they've just seen some like sanitized stuff that's on at Christmas with their family.
Just to be very pernickety,
McIntyre's class
and Peter Kay isn't.
Right, but like I'm just saying that pedestrian, like it's 9 p.m. on a Christmas Eve, you're watching it with your fucking grandma and your granddaughter. Right, quite an age range in the living room, getting a little way.
No, you're just in Fife.
Right, and you go, oh no, I don't like comedy based on what television feeds you. You haven't seen Stanhope.
Aye.
You haven't seen Jim Jeffries. Like, you could have your fucking mind blown when you find out what options out there. Not even that. Like,
you haven't seen Finn Taylor. You haven't seen Ali Wong. You haven't seen Michelle Wolf. You haven't seen Auntie Donna.
Your man Jeffrey Asmus.
You haven't. There are so many different types of comedy.
Yeah.
There are different comedies out there for everyone. But in Britain, there is this idea that there's only one type of comedy, and the reason this one type of comedy exists is because Avalon and Off the Curb will consistently put their own. And again, I don't want this to be an insult to Avalon and Off the Curb acts. You're good.
That's the thing. Like, it feels shitty, like taking the act with a fucking broad brush because the acts are good. But what they'll do is they'll sweep up everybody and they'll fucking get a few of them through, like sperm, and the rest of the fucking sperm's just stripping doing the leg.
Aye.
It's like what about these guys in the small font on your website? The ones that didn't make it. Fuck you.
Like, if you were to watch Live at the Apollo exclusively, and that was your understanding of British comedy, you would think British comedy was distinctly fucking average.
distinctly and horrendously fucking average. And that is not true. British comedy is superb. British comedy inspires American comedy.
Shout out now to Hot Water for just recording fucking you and I comics, just fucking comics that are just peddling their craft, not like fucking getting any big leg up off industry. Recording them, packaging them, putting them out on like 5-minute clips on their YouTube, and you're getting a fucking smorgasbord of comedians so that you can decide what it is that you like. And I think what fucking Hot Water are doing is just like, because I bet you there's a lot of people out there, thousands of people out there all over the world that are tuning into that channel and fuck, you seen this?
Yep.
They're saying, yeah, these ideas.
Fucking our boy Paul Smith is doing so good. Paul Smith has never been fucking touched by any bit of British television. And the cunt will
he's in a position to say fuck you when they ask him.
And the cunt will sell it fucking arenas. He'll sell it fucking arenas.
Yes.
And it's not because he's not good. It's because British fucking television decided that he wasn't the right type of diverse.
So working class ghost lad fucking chatting to the crowd.
Because working class, and I say this as a middle class person, working class diversity matters fuck all in the UK. Off the Curb and Avalon objectively do not give a shit. Objectively do not give a shit about working class comedy. Kai wasn't allowed on the comedy fucking roast battles, even though he won both of the auditions. He wasn't allowed on it because somebody posher than him lost a battle, but because they ticked more fucking boxes than him, because he's just a Geordie piece of shit.
I beat no names, right? So I beat one of my friends in the audition, and fuck it, like even if I don't say his name, just the hook is gonna give it away. So I'll just say his name. He made Naz. Right, he was heir to the Ottoman Empire, which obviously doesn't exist anymore. But if it did, he would have been he would have been an emperor, right? He's got a bloodline, right? And they saw that as a hook to get him on the show, right? So they got him on the show, and then our friend Tom, who lost in the audition to Lauren Patterson, he got the gig because he lives in the Tower of London, and he had a hook. And these are like, these guys have got like an MO. And they can get on, right? And
don't get me wrong, our friends are very talented. Lauren Patterson is very funny. Naz is hysterical.
Naz deserves to be on. Tom deserves to be on. But it was a conversation with the producers when they told us I didn't get on, even though I beat...
with a straight face.
Even though both of these lads lost their audition, right? And I won it. It was me agent through me that was having the conversation. He was like, "Can I ask, was it because the Tower of London and the fucking Ottoman Empire thing?" They were like, "Yeah, it is." And then I didn't reply back, but I'm like, "Wait a minute." So these lads got on TV based on an advantage that was nothing to do with their stand-up and nothing to do with their achievements. It was something that they were born into.
And Kai, I don't know if you know, but that is the BBC's very definition of diversity.
And this is why I was born into poverty, where sometimes when my friends were around playing and I wanted them to stay over because it was getting dark, right, I couldn't have them staying over because there wasn't enough food. And that's no slant on my parents. My parents worked fucking really, really fucking hard, right? But it was the situation that we're in. It was the lack of opportunity in the jobs. It was the low pay. It was that, right? I grew up in fucking hardship, right? And I grew up in love. Like, I'm rich in love, right? I didn't grow up in fucking that kind of poverty, right? I was loved, right? But I grew up in fucking hardship, and I found my way to the same position they were in without any of that fucking financial backing and the support that it takes you to get through fringe shows and stuff like that. And I got pretty much told to my face, they're gonna get it ahead of you because of the advantage that they had at the start of their life.
Yep.
And I'm like, all right,
no, but you've got to take Kai. No, you have to take.
Mates, so it's hard.
And also, you're a straight white male, so therefore, you've got all the advantages. So
yeah, I do have other advantages. That is true.
No, you do. But that's their justification. And even though,
that is actually a way that I dealt with it when I heard that information. And instead of getting down on myself, I was like, you know what? I've had enough luck in my life. I've had plenty of luck, right? I've had plenty of fortune. I don't have the disadvantages that my own wife would have coming up, you know. So I have to go. It's my turn to be discriminated against. That's fine. And I actually did. I just went, it's my turn.
That's exactly what you said.
Huh?
I remember that's exactly what you said. Just like, it's my turn to be discriminated against, and we all just went, oh. I mean, I guess, but that's not. Man,
it was so weird to be like actively told to your face we're discriminating against you because you come from a poor family.
Man,
what the fuck is that?
Hold on, we're at 105. Kara's knackered. She's off. She says text me. She's off to bed. So
we'll try and record that tomorrow. And
no. Let's end this podcast and then let's on the Patreon for the next half an hour discuss exactly what's wrong with British comedy.
Oh, wait, did we not just do that?
I've got so much more to say.
Okay. See you Thursday, guys.
No, because this is the last episode. To anyone that's tuned into this over the past couple of weeks, and to anyone that's come to any of our performances throughout America, genuinely, even though our last American tour was a mind-blowing bit of success that I personally truly never thought I'd experience, to come out from the pandemic, from really dark points during the pandemic of thinking like it's all over, nothing's real anymore, like the whole world's done.
Well, there's no way we'll get back to where we were.
This American tour has been, and you'll hate this in the future, it's been so good for my arrogance and my confidence. This has been it. To anyone that comes,
revitalizing.
Yeah, it's been the tour. It's been the tour that you dream of as a kid. It's the tour that, like, I know in several years I'll look back on this thing and realize how ridiculous it was. To anyone that came out, I have loved every second of this tour. Every fucking second. Don't get me wrong, I'm ready to go home and I'm ready to relax. And that doesn't mean I'm tired of the experience, but there hasn't been a single day on this tour in America that's been bad. Like, there's been tough days and there's been challenging days.
They were lost for luggage and we had to ignore tracky bees, but that was just like, it was a moment of triumph that we got there on time.
There's been no.
I've lost me valuables and me wallet.
But there's been no bad audience, and so
the audience has been class.
So before we move on, to anyone that tuned in to this podcast specifically to listen to what it was like on the American tour.
Thanks for joining on my journey. I'm glad we could take you with you.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. We thank you so much for coming to the shows. We thank you so much for the weed. Just a little note to anyone coming to my shows in the next couple of months: if you could do me a huge favor and not bring any marijuana I know this is going to be weird for you to hear from me, but if you could not bring any weed to any future shows for the next couple of months, just because
sober?
I'm going sober because it's the last 3 months of Kara's pregnancy, and I want to be sober for at least that, if not more.
Psychologically available.
Yes, and also I'm weak, so if you bring me weed, I will smoke it. So as a professional,
this podcast, the Thursday podcast that we're about to record, is the last time we see him drunk for a long time.
Yep. But to everyone that came out to us on any part of the American tour, dream come true across the board. Never, like, every time we get to do this, I know you think it would be less exciting for us, but for
there was a real case of not taking it for granted this time.
Yeah,
Not that we did last time. We're still very much like last time. I feel like we were full throttle because it was like this might be the only time we get to do this.
Yeah.
And we went full throttle this time. We've just been a lot more like taking care of ourselves.
Yeah,
getting to bed at a reasonable hour.
And so just very grateful that you all tuned into this. We're recording this one. We're recording the Patreon special just to get over with, so we can have like a week off when we're back and go back on the road. Aye. So we'll be back. Thank you to everyone listening in. Please come see us on the tour in the UK if you're in the UK. If you're in Europe, we're coming to France still. The Germany tour dates have been delayed. I know if you're in Germany, that's frustrating for you because it's the third time we've delayed them. We're gutted.
Aye.
But it's the laws. It's not a personal decision. It's just a situation. I get that. We're whiny, drunken cunts or at least I am most of the time. I don't think I've loved a tour more than this one I've done. And to every person that came to us in America during this, sincerely thank you. Really, really loved it all. And I hope you all die of AIDS.
Okay. See you on Thursday. Sign up to Patreon if you haven't already. And if you still just want to sit in the cheap seats, I'll see you Monday when we're going to be sober and it's going to be the start of a new journey. Bye.
Right. Say